Hey everyone, and welcome. In today's business world, data isn't just some technical byproduct. No, it's the actual raw material you use to build an empire. So the big question is, how do the top companies take all this messy, chaotic data and turn it into a genuine strategic weapon? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down. Let's dive in.
This quote right here, it just nails the pressure cooker environment that we're all in. See, it's not good enough anymore to just have data. The real game, the high-stakes race, is about extracting every single drop of value from it. And let's be clear, the companies that figure this out don't just compete, they completely dominate.
So here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with the absolute basics. Then we'll get into the tech that brings order to all that chaos. From there, we'll see how real insights are built, touch on the critical human element, and then, finally, tie it all together to show how this wins you the game.
All right, let's start at square one. If you're gonna build a data powerhouse, you absolutely have to know the difference between the core building blocks.
First up, we've got data. The best way to think about this is just a constant stream of raw, unorganized facts. It's just stuff. A list of sales figures, a log of clicks on a website, a customer's zip code. By themselves, these little points are basically just noise. They exist, sure, but they don't really tell you anything meaningful. They're just the raw ingredients waiting for a recipe. Now, this is where things get interesting. When you take that raw data and you give it some context, it transforms into information. So you're not looking at a random list of numbers anymore, you're looking at a monthly sales report. And all of a sudden, you can ask a real question, like, hey, did we sell more this month than last month? The raw facts now have meaning. They're actually useful. And here we have the final, and by far the most valuable step, knowledge. This is where we apply actual human expertise to that information. It's the difference between just seeing that sales dipped last month and understanding that they dipped because a competitor launched a big campaign and knowing that we need to hit back with a targeted promotion. This is actionable insight. This is the whole point of the exercise. So how in the world do we get from that chaotic mess of raw data to this beautifully organized information? Well, that's where the tech comes in. Specifically, we're talking about databases. Let's see how they tame that chaos. For a really long time, this picture was the reality in most companies. You've got accounting with their data over here, sales with their data over there, marketing with theirs somewhere else, all of them stored in their own little separate, isolated systems. We call this a data silo, and let me tell you, it creates some massive, massive problems.
And make no mistake, these silos are a total nightmare. You end up with the same customer's info stored in 3 different spots. But hey, guess what? The addresses are all different, so which one is right? It becomes completely impossible to get one single, clear picture of anything, let alone your entire business.
The solution to this mess is something called a database management system, or DBMS for short. Think of it like a super powerful gatekeeper for your data. It's a piece of software that pulls all the data into one central place. It shatters those silos and finally gives the entire company one single source of truth to work from. I love this slide because it shows just how elegantly a computer system organizes all this stuff. It all starts with the absolute smallest piece, a single bit, a 0 or a 1. Then bits make up bytes, bytes make up fields like a name or a date, and those fields group together to form a record for, say, one single customer. And all those records together, that's your database. Why does this matter? Because this clean, efficient hierarchy is what allows a computer to find and process information at incredible speeds. Okay, now this is where it gets really clever. This slide shows how relational databases, which are the most common kind, connect different bits of information. So imagine you have one table for your suppliers and a totally separate one for all your parts. In that supplier table, a primary key, like a unique supplier ID, makes sure every company has its own identifier. Then, when you add that exact same ID to the parts table, it becomes a foreign key. And boom, you've just created a powerful link. Now you always know which supplier gives you which part. That simple little link is the magic that lets you ask incredibly complex questions of your data. Okay, so we did it. Our data is organized, it's structured, it's clean. Now for the really big question. How do we start asking it smart questions to build genuine business intelligence? So let's talk about the heavy-duty infrastructure you need for analysis. First, there's the data warehouse. The best way to think about this is like a giant, perfectly organized library of all your company's historical data, all tuned up for analysis. Then you've got a data mart, which is like a smaller, specialized wing of that library, built just for one team, like the marketing folks. And finally, you have the more modern data lake. This is just a vast, raw pool where you dump everything, structured or not. It gives you incredible flexibility, which is exactly how that company Astro was finally able to get a single, complete view of its customers. So once the data is stored somewhere, you need tools to actually analyze it. On one hand, you have OLAP, which lets you slice and dice the data you already have, looking at it from all sorts of different angles. But then there's data mining, which goes a huge step further. It uses really sophisticated algorithms to find hidden patterns and predictive relationships that you didn't even know to look for. It's about discovering the unknown unknowns.
You know, technology is an amazing thing, but it's only half the story. The real end game here is to capture and manage knowledge. And so often, that knowledge lives inside the minds of your people.
And it turns out there are two main types of knowledge. You've got explicit knowledge, which is the stuff you can easily write down and document, like a training manual or a report. But then you have tacit knowledge, and this is the real gold. It's that intuition, the years of experience, the know-how that an expert has in their head. It's way harder to capture, but it's unbelievably valuable. So the smartest companies don't just leave this to chance. No way. They use a formal process, a knowledge management cycle, to treat this knowledge like the asset it is. It's a living system. You create and capture new knowledge, you refine and store it, and, this is the most important part, you have to manage it and get it out to the people who actually need it.
And all of this brings us to the big payoff. I mean, why go through all this trouble? Because mastering your data and your knowledge is how you win. It's how you completely dominate your industry. And these real-world examples just prove the point. Envision Virgin Racing uses data to make split-second decisions that literally win races. P&G uses knowledge sharing to spark innovation across the entire globe. And Astro, they finally broke down those data silos to get a deep, unified understanding of who their customers truly are. This isn't just theory, folks. This is how modern businesses won.
So, we'll leave you with this question to chew on. As powerful technologies like AI get even smarter, the value of an organization's unique human knowledge only goes up. So you have to ask, is that knowledge being treated like the critical strategic asset it is? Or is it just being left to chance, a forgotten resource? The answer to that question could very well determine the future.